Death Star, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
All right, so we're going to continue with our Obi-Wan Kenobi talk, but apparently this week's also Star Wars Alumni Week. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe. Of course, with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, yes. Should be a good time for all.
Yeah.
You know.
Should be.
Should be.
Get your corned beef and cabbage going.
Biggest part of the day of the year.
Yeah. Get some Guinness.
Yes.
Get your Irish on, right? Get your Irish on.
Don't drink any
Even
of
if
that
you're not.
green stuff.
Yeah. If you put green dye in Bud Light, that's not getting your Irish on.
Exactly.
There's a word for that, right? Posers.
Right. Posers. That's funny.
It's popular though, so.
Oh, it is.
No, you want to go all out, dye your hair green, and drink some Guinness and some Jameson, and
Get in a fight.
yes. We do not condone fighting here at the Wars and More.
No. Yeah, violence is bad.
All right. So, continuing on from last week, why this picture was not in the initial release.
Right.
The initial teaser is like, why? So there's a shot of Vader, and not only Vader, but Hayden Christensen as Vader.
Right.
Now it's really darkly lit, and of course you can't tell it's Hayden Christensen, but you can tell it's Vader.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can tell it's Vader, and it's kind of like a Vader silhouette, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, he's got the lights on the that like keypad thing on his chest or whatever, and you know, the cape and all, but it's not really much to see there. The only thing I have to say about it that really struck me is it's so reminiscent of the classic shot of Vader from Empire Strikes Back, Cloud City, and it's like, wow, that is a cool picture. Just like some of the imagery we're getting already from what we're going to see here is really cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I'm happy to see the return of Vader and fog machines.
Yes, fog machine. Yes, with the spotlight coming right down on top of them. It's
like how appropriate.
Yes, totally. Yeah, love it. Not a whole lot to say more than that. It's just really cool. I don't know.
It's very appropriate. Like it's Vader. Like you cannot look at this picture and not think, oh, this guy would kick my ass.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's fantastic, and they're saying that's Hayden Christensen in there. Well, he's got the stance.
That's for sure.
I don't look at this picture and say, oh wow, I can't believe that they went with someone else for Vader. No, this looks like Vader.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess once we see it in action, we might be going, well, what'd they do?
Maybe, but so far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. So.
Well, he's already moved as Vader once, right?
Yeah, it's true. Briefly. Yeah.
Got to wear the suit. He got to move as Vader.
Yep.
It looked great. So, I mean, do we know who's providing the voice?
I don't think there's been confirmation yet, but we have to believe that it's, James Earl Jones. Yeah. I can't imagine them doing this project without him.
Yeah, now that he's already proved he can do it from home.
Exactly.
Because for Rebels, he didn't even come into the studio. He just did it at home.
Right.
Send it in.
Think about what they're doing for this show. I mean, you have John Williams coming back to do the theme, right? And, you're going to have Vader and not James Earl Jones's voice? I don't know. Come on.
Yeah, but maybe they're just doing that whole Mark Hamill thing that they did with Luke Skywalker and The Mandalorian. Is like, we got enough data.
Right.
Congratulations, your voice is immortal.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want with it.
Yes, we can make you say anything.
Which is very possible.
It is. It's, what though? In a way, it's reassuring to know that we're going to have Vader being able to say anything moving forward. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Legit Vader.
What?
I said legit Vader.
Yeah.
It's not some knockoff, cheap imitation.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, if they can make a legit Vader voice for eternity, fabulous.
Exactly. Especially since, I think Hayden Christensen even said it, this character has been a collaboration amongst so many different people already, and, a lot of good people have pulled it off,
Yeah.
And the one constant has been James Earl Jones. And, if he gives them the rights to use his voice moving forward, that's going to be a benefit for all of us, which I can't see why I wouldn't. So,
yeah, Disney probably owns his voice anyway.
What don't they own?
Like he's probably under contract to talk to people from day to day because he was Mufasa and Vader. Like, it's just like,
That's true.
They own you, dude.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it's not as cool as I thought anymore.
Man, what, like, you think about everything James Earl Jones has done in his career.
Uh-huh.
But you say Mufasa and Vader is like, that's like the pinnacle. Like, it's,
Oh, I know.
how do you top that?
I know.
Like, you're Mufasa and Vader. You just literally beat everyone in Hollywood.
And I'm sure that he would love to be known for a lot of his, like, theater work and stuff. But
right. I'm sure. But that's great. You'd love to be known for that, but you're Mufasa and Vader.
Exactly. And we love him for it, for sure.
Yep. Two of the most iconic voices in film, period.
Yes. Film, period. Right. Not just Disney film, but film. Yes.
So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, Ewan, right?
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
Yes.
The man. The man of the hour. The man of the 2 weeks.
Exactly. So he did this video for Entertainment Weekly, and he talked about a few things, and there was a couple things that said that I thought were noteworthy, and I guess we'll start with the one. It's kind of a callback to something that was kind of touched on before, but he brings it up again, and I just imagine being there, and I think we would all have the same reaction. So
it's odd to come back to something after such a long period of time. We made the last film in 2003, and I guess it was early last year. I went down to do some casting, and they wanted to do screen tests with some young actors. We were on the Mandalorian set. I think it was a weekend, and they were not shooting, so we'd used a bit of their set, and it was their, I think, mainly the Mandalorian crew. But I walked out, I went into my dressing room, and there was some random Jedi stuff, not stuff that I'd worn in the other films, but just based on, or some Jedi type clothing. And I put it on, and it just felt it felt great. It felt important, and it felt special, and I was happy. But it wasn't really till I walked out onto the stage, and someone said, "Okay, ready," and I've got my line. I've got my role, but the young actors I'm reading with maybe don't have their role. So I've got my page. I'm just making sure I know my lines, because I don't want to screw up my lines for their screen test, their camera test. And I was walking out, and I sort of looked up, and I was aware suddenly of the crew, who are the Mandalorian crew, but looking at me coming in Obi-Wan's costume, and I could feel that sort of excitement running through. It was exciting. It was cool.
Right. So I could just imagine being somebody there on that soundstage, watching Obi-Wan Kenobi come walking up, and it's like, I don't know, I'd go nuts.
Not just somebody, right? Like, imagine, right? You are called out for a screen test.
Yes.
You're auditioning for a role, and they hit you with Obi-Wan Kenobi, dude. Like, literally.
Sure. I'm just thinking of, like, okay, here we have, the Mandalorian crew, right? So you got camera guys and lighting people and the guy holding the boom mic, whatever. It's like, okay, I got to be here on a Saturday, whatever, you know. And then it's like, oh my God, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, yeah, but like I'm saying, like, imagine you get called out to a screen test.
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily know you're in Star Wars.
Well, that may be true, but then even if
do you think this is like
I think
the preliminaries? Like,
I think so. I think this is where they're actually going to start, like, some of the.
So everyone knows they're there
shooting
for Star Wars.
I think so,
and they know they're there for Kenobi.
Probably. But the thing is, it probably doesn't really hit you until you see freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi walking up, like
standing in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh crap! What were my lines?
That's.
I'm sorry, I'm lost, dude. You just hit me with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I know. Did you just say hello there? Because, oh my God. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. That was pretty cool. I couldn't imagine being there. It would have been a very exciting time, I'm sure, to be on set. So.
Oh, well, without a doubt. Without a doubt, the first time he walks out suited up, it's going to be a thing.
So he goes on, and we just got done talking about Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader and how cool he looked there and everything. So Ewan McGregor's talking about, you know, getting together, catching up with Hayden Christensen, you know, because he says they've kept in touch, you know, but, you know, they don't get to see each other hardly at all because, you know, live in two different countries and all. But, you know, right. So they got together, they hung out, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And you know, we just touched on how we see Hayden as Darth Vader, and then Ewan goes into this.
But I love him so much, and we have a very special bond of making two of those first three films together. And yeah, it was an important. It was so important for both of us, for our careers and for who we are. And so we had just so much to catch up on, life stuff and where we're at. And it was so lovely to see him again. And then to be on set with him again was just odd. It was oddly, it was like time hadn't happened or something. I looked across at him, and there's we're on a set, and I look over at him. He's Anakin now. I'm Obi-Wan now, and it's like nothing had happened. Like I didn't see any age on his face. I just felt like we just like the period of time between episode 3 and now just didn't exist or something. It was so peculiar.
What?
What'd you catch there, Joe? So,
like time hadn't happened?
Like time hadn't happened. Yeah.
I'm Obi-Wan, he's Anakin?
Right. On set.
He wasn't wearing a costume, dude? Like,
so I this is, I think this is a what would you call it? A kind of a giveaway again, you know, that there's going to be flashbacks. So I'm sure this is like
a slip.
It's possible that it was a slip. I mean, and I don't know if it's really been confirmed or not, but this is, you know, I think you called it a loose confirmation, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see flashbacks. I'm guessing to the Clone Wars, and you know, kind of like visualizing for us all of the stuff that, you know, old Ben talked about to Luke Skywalker, you know, just to put all of that into perspective for those who haven't watched the Clone Wars series. So that being said, that Ewan is looking across at Anakin and he's Obi-Wan, and I'm guessing it's going back to the Clone Wars era. Do you think they'll pull Rosario Dawson in for Ahsoka?
Ooh.
Or do you think they'll just keep it the two of them on some sort of mission or something?
I don't think they'll pull Rosario in.
I'm kind of leaning that way myself because
I don't rule out Ahsoka being there.
Oh, really? You think it might be someone else?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. This is interesting.
Oh man, I'll have to pull this up. Right now, I was just looking to see if there's any pictures of Hayden Christensen lately with long hair. No, they've kept that under wraps. So
right, they can make that happen.
No, but there was a woman that was talked about for Ahsoka Tano.
Really?
Yeah, and I could see her being a young Ahsoka.
Interesting.
I'm trying to see if I can find this real quick. And I'll keep talking while I'm looking here.
Yeah, so what I'm getting from this though is that, like, not the whole reason. I mean, we know that it's to launch the Ahsoka series and everything, but we've got the most recent version of Ahsoka in live action. Yes, to launch her series and all that, but to maybe establish the character for all those who are just into the live action stuff. So that, there's been hints, right? She's talking to Din Djarin saying, "Oh, I'm just a friend of the family," right? When she was hanging out with Luke and all. And it's like, right. Okay, I don't know. So, because there could be, I don't know, interesting. I mean, because people would know who she is now, right? Even if it's another actress playing the same character, younger.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of knows who Ahsoka is now because they've seen her in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So it's an interesting thought. I don't know. I have a feeling though that they might just keep this an Anakin Obi-Wan type of thing.
Probably.
Because, if you, because I think they're going to have a lot to deal with in this show. They gotta get through a lot of stuff for Obi-Wan, and it's more about him than it's going to be about
anyone else.
Anyone else, right? Yeah, exactly.
But will it be?
Well,
was The Mandalorian more about The Mandalorian than anyone else?
Now. Come on.
Was the Book of Boba Fett about Boba Fett more than anyone else?
Stop it.
Am I wrong?
It's debatable, which we could go into sometime. But right now, I'm just thinking, I don't think Obi-Wan's going to be thinking necessarily about adventures he had with Ahsoka and how all that went wrong. It's going to be more about, his buddy that he had to like chop apart on Mustafar.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But you do have a series coming out.
It is true.
For Ahsoka. I could see them doing a cameo for the character just to keep the idea fresh.
Okay.
I could see it. Like just her being there. Short interaction. Not even focused on at all. But just there. If they're doing that flashback.
Ooh. You know where this would work for me? Is if, let's just say, okay, imagine a scene, right? We have Obi-Wan walking up to General Skywalker, and he's talking to Ahsoka over holocron, or a hologram, whatever. Yeah. Like instructing her what to do on whatever flank of the battlefield or whatever. That would make sense to me, because that puts her squarely in that time frame with them, and then Anakin and Obi-Wan got to go deal with this problem, and that would make sense. Something like that could work.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe I can't find this rumor.
Well,
I literally saw it for weeks.
Wow.
Now it's just like gone. Which means it's probably true. Disney's really good at scrubbing this stuff.
Oh yeah. We're gonna erase it from the internet. That's
Hey, they've been doing a pretty solid job.
I know.
Dude, when they released that, and like, here's confirmation that they can do this. When they released that initial video for Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And then pulled it.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how you get something off the internet, but Disney pulled it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They have their ways.
And then you would see like people sharing the video and stuff, and it's like you go to the Twitter post and it's like, this video has been removed due to a claim from the copyright holder. It's like, damn.
Yes. Activate the lawyers. Yes.
Like, really? That dude has 700 followers.
Right.
And his video was pulled.
I love it. It's so true.
So, yeah. But anywho, like, yeah, I could see there being a nod. A
brief moment with Ahsoka.
brief moment with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Do I think it would be Rosario? No.
Okay.
Just because of Rosario's look more resembles Rebels and Beyond Ahsoka.
Right.
Not Clone Wars era Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And if we're dealing with a flashback with Anakin, we're not going to see a Rosario looking Ahsoka. Like,
exactly. Well, I mean, you almost have to go back to the Snips and Sky Guy stuff, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, maybe not that far back.
Yeah. But
at least during the Clone Wars, like,
it's closer to that than it is to Rebels Ahsoka, basically. That's what we're getting at. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
You may be able to get to like season 7 Ahsoka, right? But even then, you're looking at a much younger looking character.
Right.
There is a drastic difference between Rebels Ahsoka and Clone Wars Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And with this period here, we're looking at more Rebels. We're looking at pretty much a Rebels Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And we got to keep in mind that Rosario's resembling even later.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't see her taking part in a flashback. At the very best, she could complete a current Obi-Wan Kenobi Ahsoka interaction. So in the current timeline, they may be able to use her.
But I don't see that happening.
No.
Honestly. Because by that point, you know, any Jedi in this show beyond Obi-Wan have got to be like, you know, other Jedi in exile. And Ahsoka's, you know, smart enough to keep her head down, you know.
No, and we've already seen 3 Inquisitors are on the hunt here.
Right.
3 Inquisitors are on the trail. Last thing you need is another Jedi. Like,
exactly.
They're not going to be able to sniff out 2.
Right.
Like, 1, okay. 2, yeah, they're getting found.
Exactly.
Interesting thought, though.
Yeah.
Flashbacks. I mean, with the way these two guys look, flashbacks are very, very plausible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have no doubt. And, you know, I don't know if they're going to choose to do this or not, but, you know, it wouldn't take much of the de-aging technology to make these guys look younger. You know, I mean, and who knows? It could very well just be like a, you know, dimly lit scenario that they're in, and that they'd be able to pull that off easy.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Mark Hamill. Stepping away a little bit. Or a lot of it.
Right? Yeah. Well, Mark Hamill actually confirmed something through a tweet that I gotta be honest, I didn't know these details of this, but see, someone posted a question We can inquire to Hamill himself about it. Mark, did you guys reshoot the medical base scene at the end of Empire after principal photography had already wrapped? And he responded with, filmed 4 months after we wrapped principal photography on Empire Strikes Back. It wasn't a reshoot, it was an added scene. Concerned about the downbeat ending and thorough defeat of the protagonists, they wanted to add an uplifting moment of hope and rejuvenation to reassure the audience. So I heard stuff, rumblings in the past about how that scene had to be there because, without it, God, that movie would have been a total downer, right? But I didn't realize it was shot 4 months after principal photography. It was, that was new to me. So, but yeah, I do recall them talking about making sure that was there,
Yeah.
So
while I agree with the, it gave a moment of hope, right? Like,
yep.
Uplifting.
Yeah, I know. It is true, because that movie is one of those ones. It's like at the end of it, you are just left with that sinking feeling like, yes, you just got beat up,
Yeah, the good guys lost.
Totally.
Which was really well executed, right? Like,
yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, like, it's really well done. Like, you needed them to lose in the middle.
Yes. And
left when I say in the middle of a trilogy, not in the middle of a movie.
Right. But it left you, I mean, as soon as you had left seeing that movie, you had to be feeling like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see the next one, just to, round out this story and the good guys got to battle back,
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know, interesting that it would have happened, that much after, principal shooting, because I don't know, how would you have ended it without it? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, that's the next question. Like, how did the movie end before this?
That's what I'm wondering. It's like,
what was your final scene? Like, did you finish on the Falcon?
That's what I was just thinking.
Because if you finished on the Falcon, yeah, that was bad.
That was bad, right? Luke lying there without a hand, oh.
And not only that, like, this dude just cut your hand off and he's going to talk to you through the Force, and you're like, Father?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Different than any teenager I've ever met.
I don't know. That's the thing that got me, is like, if you didn't have this scene shot, how were you going to end this movie? Because with what the scenes that we have, I don't think there was a good place to end it. And maybe that was their realization,
Oh, I'm sure.
When they were going back looking at all of their dailies and everything, it's like, we don't have any shot,
And 4 months after, I'm assuming they had pretty much the whole movie pieced together at that point.
Right.
And they're looking at it going, yeah, this is awkward, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need something.
Yeah, totally.
And really, you look at the still photos of that final shot, and that's how you end a movie.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I don't know what they're looking at there, but
it's like the Milky Way or something. Galaxy far, far away. But yeah, I don't know. That would have been awkward without that scene for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's definitely something I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't know that it took place that far after. Like I said, I have heard reference to that scene being necessary, and I totally agree. But yeah, the fact that it took place so long after they gotten done shooting, just, and I know George kind of works this way to some degree, where he's like sitting in the editing room going, hey, we need this, we need that, you know, but then it's like, oh, wow, we got to shoot some more stuff. That's
You know what I really take away from this, though? We really need a Mark Hamill commentary on the original trilogy.
Oh, my God. Oh, that is a Disney Plus feature right there. Holy crap.
I mean, it's apparent that Mark has like this
Wealth of knowledge.
ridiculous memory.
Yes.
You know, he can, someone can ask him a question on Twitter and he's like, yeah, 4 months after we wrapped.
Yes, exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah.
You remember it was 4 months?
40 years ago. That's
Yeah, like why does that stick out to you? Like, do you just have this memory that just hangs on to that kind of data? And if you do, dude, we need a commentary with you.
absolutely.
Like, this needs to happen.
This is a thing that needs to happen.
Who else
Wow.
like get a couple other people with them that like remember these little details like crazy. You know,
Man.
I don't care if it's like one of the camera guys. Like,
Yeah.
if it's one of the camera guys that remember this stuff like this, get that guy.
Yeah. That
You know,
would
a sound
be
editor.
fabulous.
But Mark, we need your commentary, man. You keep letting these things out of the bag, and it's always new.
Wow. You know, he could just like sit down and watch these movies and do it himself and just put it out there. But I mean, Disney would, have to sign off on it because, contracts and stuff. But man, they would be, man.
Like either a commentary or just a Mark Hamill documentary where he reveals all kinds of shit like this.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, maybe with answering these Twitter questions, that's what he's going for.
Maybe.
But like his memory is apparently ridiculous. Either that or he took really good notes. Yeah, he's got like a fantastic diary of all this. Like,
Yeah. You just imagine.
I mean, not going to rule it out, right? Like,
It's true. It's true.
After the first one, he had to have known he was in something big,
Yeah.
and he may have documented it.
It's possible.
And I wouldn't be that surprised with the way he rips this stuff off. It just feels like he's got to be looking at notes, dude. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It feels to me like it just comes off of, memory because he,
Yeah, you get that off of Twitter?
well, I mean, I also get it from some of his live appearances.
Agreed. Like it was amazing when I attended where was I? It was at Celebration Orlando. The remembrance of Carrie Fisher.
Uh-huh.
Like watching that, like I was like, wow, how do you remember all this stuff? Like some of these are moments that you wouldn't think you would remember, but you're just pulling these out.
Right.
And he may just have that kind of memory.
Yeah, I imagine he does because he does come up
And
with a lot of stuff that.
And it was so conversational, right? Like it wasn't like he was referring to notes.
Right.
Like I joke about that because like you read this, it's like, how does he just remember this?
Right.
Like it was 4 months.
Yeah, that seems kind of specific to just be a guess or something.
Yeah, it was 4 months. He didn't say like, yeah, it was about 4 months.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months. No.
Yeah.
4
That sounds
months.
like it's coming off the top of the head.
Yeah, true.
Saying, yeah, it was 4 months after we wrapped Principal, and like, yeah, it was kind of dreary, so we decided to do something a little more upbeat.
Look, I got a new hand.
Well, way to roll us into the next one.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson, yes. Yeah.
Probably the quietest yet hardest lobbying guy.
Yes. All right, so we're going to do these kind of reverse from the order they were done in, but it makes sense because of the hand. So Sam Jackson was on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh Horowitz. And again, we say it all the time, but whenever there's somebody who had been in Star Wars getting interviewed for something else, Star Wars always comes up. So he's Josh Horowitz is asking him, he's like, so what do you think happened to Mace Windu? I mean, he's got to be roaming around somewhere in the Star Wars universe, one-handed, got to be around somewhere because, we know
Jedi. Gotta be. I mean, he was thrown out a freaking window.
Yes, but Jedis can survive such things, right? Yep. we know this.
So Sam Jackson said.
Right. So he's just, it's just kind of funny because, roaming around somewhere with one hand, and here's what he has to say.
Well, that's the same way I think about dude from, Jurassic Park. He's somewhere riding around on velociraptors with one arm. He's just on the island, just
right,
riding raptors. But
should I hold out hope at this point for Mace?
There's a huge history of people with one hand returning in Star Wars. I asked the only person I've ever said that to about coming back was Bryce Dallas Howard, because I just did a movie with her. And she directs episodes of The Mandalorian. So you think you might be able to hook a brother up? I mean, you like me, right? And she's like, I love you. You're amazing. Put me back.
Put me back in the game. I'm ready.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready. I'll learn to, lightsaber left-handed. Come on. Hook me up.
So there we have it. He's actually lobbied to somebody involved with Star Wars.
Yeah, as opposed to lobbying to all of us fans for years and years.
Exactly. He and it's funny. Okay, so from here we've got to think about this for a minute. It's like, how could this, I think we all know, right? But we got to be thinking season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett, right? I mean, Boba Fett confronting Mace Windu. Boba Fett's different now, Be interesting to see how all that played out. That would be the place to reintroduce Mace Windu. I mean, Mace Windu decapitated his father, but now things are different. So who knows?
You know what I got to say to that, Doug?
What's that?
You've been watching Dave Filoni stuff for too long.
What are you talking about?
He's good at that, man. Boba Fett, Mace Windu, makes sense.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, that's I don't know. Where else would you reintroduce Mace Windu?
Well, obviously, I don't know because they ain't done it yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I could imagine that being the most, one of the most tense moments. I mean, it's like, oh, it's you.
It's funny because this is, one Star Wars Celebration 2022 is coming up.
Right.
Fast approaching. And I mentioned in the Mark Hamill thing, it's like, I think it was Celebration Orlando. I remember him, drawing off his memory like crazy, talking about Carrie Fisher. But with Sam Jackson, I definitely remember Star Wars Celebration Orlando during the opening ceremonies. They had like these alumni clips.
Uh-huh.
And it was definitely Sam Jackson talking about how Jedi fall from incredible heights all the time.
Yep.
He's been lobbying for a lot of years.
Oh, definitely.
And yeah, I think we are definitely in a spot right now where it could happen.
Yeah, exactly. We have an on-ramp. There's a show that it would make sense to be in. I don't know. It could work.
Oh, it could definitely work.
All right. So the question that came before, which, it's one of those things. It's been kind of talked about, but so it's a neat story to hear. Mace Windu is the one Jedi who's got a different lightsaber than everyone else. It's got the purple lightsaber. So Josh Horowitz asks him, so how was it that you came to have this, purple lightsaber?
I asked George. In episode 2, there's that huge scene in like a
Stadium
forum,
kind of thing.
stadium.
Yeah.
And there's all these Jedi out there. And when I was reading it, I was like, so I said, different color lights. So I said, George, can I get a purple lightsaber? They're green and blue. I was like, what? Seriously? That's it? No conversation. And then we finished shooting reshoots. I had to fly back to London and say, I want to show you something. I was like, what? And he shows me a purple lightsaber. He said, it's already causing a shitstorm online, so I don't know if I'm going to keep it. And I was like, really? Come on. Listen, and how do people online know anyway? And sure enough, when the movie opened, he was like, okay, you get to keep the purple lightsaber. Because in episode 1,
Right.
I never even got to pull it.
Yeah. You get this purple lightsaber because never even got to use it in episode 1. It's pretty funny because he talks about, how would people online even know? I remember back in those days, man, when the prequels were coming out, you'd go to these websites and they would have all these areas on these websites, like a blog, where it was just white space, right? And that was all the text that people had written about all these leaks that they had, and you had to pull the cursor down over it and highlight it in order to be able to read it. It's like you didn't.
Oh yeah, I remember that stuff.
You didn't want to. If you didn't want to get spoiled, don't read that. But it's like, that's how they did it back then. Just brings back those memories. It's funny. It's like, well, Sam Jackson, these are Star Wars fans.
He's got a good point though. Like they're filming, right? Like they haven't even done it yet. He's like, it's already causing a shitstorm online. It's like, how do they even know? Like it makes sense. Like you're still talking about it. You haven't even committed to doing a purple lightsaber yet.
Right.
Like, how is it causing a shitstorm?
Hey, well, as we can see, deviating from the green and the blue, now we got purple. Now we got yellow, got
Right.
white. It's like, man, we even have a dark saber. So,
No, it actually, in my opinion, created a good trend.
yeah,
Because, really, green, blue, or red, that's it? That's all you're going with?
at first, yeah, that's what they went with.
I'm just saying, how do you discern between who gets green, who gets blue? I mean, at that time, the only green we had seen, right? No, never mind. You saw Yoda's green.
Right.
Wait, no, you hadn't. No, you hadn't. So, Qui-Gon green? Or he was blue, right?
I think his was green.
Yeah, okay. So Qui-Gon had a green lightsaber. So before that, the only green lightsaber we had ever seen was Luke's. Luke's microwave crystal was green.
Yes. Yep.
So if they left them all blue before that, okay, fine. But if you got green or blue, and that's established, this could happen prior to Luke Skywalker's green one, you got to imagine there's other colors. Really, why the rule, right?
I don't know. It's funny because, all the rest of them were green or blue, except for Mace Windu, and it's like, there's something special about this guy, right? Which I know there's a whole backstory to it now and everything as to why his is purple, but it definitely distinguished him from many of the other Jedi. You know what I mean?
Usually the only thing that would probably go wrong there, and this is probably where the shitstorm came from, right? What George Lucas would see as that is oh, wait. So you got Jedi, green or blue.
Yeah.
You got Sith,
Yeah.
red.
Yeah. He's somewhere in the middle.
Is he somewhere in the middle?
Right.
You know, is this a Jedi who's gonna drop an F-bomb?
Right.
And it's Sam Jackson?
Yes. Sam Jackson. And you got to remember, you know, he didn't mess around in those prequels.
No, he was very serious and very, like, it's this way, period.
Yes.
So, yeah, you could have seen him as someone who was, like, kind of straddling the two.
Right.
And George is probably like, yeah, that's not what I'm going for. Why do we always got to do that when we talk about George Lucas? Like, got to go to the voice. Like,
yeah, I know. But hey, it just happens.
I know. Just it's a reaction, right? It's
a
reflex.
but you know, be interesting. I'm just thinking now. I'm thinking of you know, Book of Boba Fett. All of a sudden, purple lightsaber lights up. Boba Fett sees that, a flood of memories.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, wait a second! I thought I cut your head off.
Oh, yeah, memories from both sides. That's good, Joe. I like that. Wow.
Yeah.
They could make this work. I'm just saying, they could make this work. So hopefully Bryce Dallas Howard puts the word in, and it's not like everybody at Lucasfilm and Disney didn't know that he would be willing to do it, you know, because he's been telling everybody that he would be. So
yeah, for more than a decade.
Yeah. Hey, I'm all for it. I'd love to see
Been
it.
all for it. Like, we have a thing with loose ends, right? Like,
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And it's their own fault, right?
Yes. I mean,
it really is. Like, when you cut a guy in half and then he comes back, it's like, okay, this guy lost his hand and fell a little bit.
Yes, this is exactly where I was going to go, too. You can't even cut somebody in half and have them be dead. That's...
Yeah, you cut someone in half, next thing you know, they show up with some spider legs and like... It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, the ones you think are dead aren't even dead.
Oh.
Let alone the ones that you don't know.
That's the beauty of George, too. He's like, all right, we're going to bring back Darth Maul. And it's like, we cut him in half. He's like, yeah, so what? We'll just bring him back. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and Mace didn't get hit with any more lightning than Yoda did, and Yoda just played dead. Like, oh.
Or Luke, right? I mean.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you compare it to Luke, I mean, Yoda and Mace were being babies about it.
Exactly. Yeah, Luke was getting fried.
I mean, Luke's over there like, this sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. The other two guys got a blast, and like Yoda's like now granted, he's smaller, right?
Right.
Bounced off the wall and everything. Couldn't have felt good.
Yes.
But then he just totally like opens an eye a little bit, like, oh yeah, he's faking it. He's playing the long game here.
Right.
Trying to play chess while Palpatine's playing checkers.
Oh, yeah. That didn't turn out well. But, yeah. I don't know, man. Kind of like getting excited to maybe see this happen. This Mace Windu thing. That'd be awesome.
It'll be about time.
Heck yeah. And you think about it, right? Like, with the amount of time that's passed since the prequels and where this should be, they put a little age makeup on Sam Jackson and stuff, and all that fit the role perfectly for that timeline. Old, wise Jedi.
I mean, well, let's be real. Every time he shows up as Nick Fury, he just looks like Mace Windu with an eye patch.
Right.
So it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
They don't have to do a ton of work here.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's a ton different than the Capital One commercials, but like, it's
oh, that's hilarious.
It's all a matter of how they want it to look. But yeah, seriously, like, look at Nick Fury.
Yeah.
It's Mace Windu with an eye patch.
It's true.
They're good. They can just roll with this.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. I think we have one more alum, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny to say alum right now.
I know. But it's true. It's what it is.
It's what it is.
So this was going to be a little tough. So you're going to have to, stretch your ears out a little bit, I think, to hear this, because it was in a noisy situation. But Daisy Ridley was at the BAFTA Awards, and which is like what UK's like Oscars, right, kind of thing, and was being interviewed out on the carpet and was asked an interesting question, and she had a interesting reply. So here we go.
Also, do tell me, do you miss being Rey? Are you going to make a return to Star Wars?
I'll always be Rey.
Oh, I love that. Soundbite. Well, enjoy it, BAFTA, and great to see you. Lots of love.
So, do you miss being Rey? Are you going to make a return to Star Wars? And she says, I'll always be Rey. And then, soundbite. So, every Star Wars fan's imagination is getting jolted with that one. What do you think the possibilities are we're going to see a sequel?
None.
None?
None.
Interesting.
I think she's talking about Lego.
Oh, really?
I'm just being an ass.
Okay. I got to be honest. I think at this point in time, after the sequels have been completed, and then after The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, things like this, after what I'm sure we're going to see in Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think they might have a better grip on what's going to capture everybody. You know what I mean? And I feel like they could take this character along with the characters like Finn and Poe and everyone, and from this point move forward starting at 0 and make something really good. Just my thoughts. If all the players would be interested.
I mean, I don't feel like they have to start at 0.
Well, but what I'm saying is everything that is in the past is in the past, right? Everybody's expectations for what was going to happen with all the classic characters, Luke, Leia, Han, blah blah blah, right? All that stuff, that's all done now, right? And however it played out. But now, Rey buried the lightsabers, right? She can move on. This is where I feel like it's the jumping off point for a real Rey as Jedi story.
Oh, I agree with that. Like, we haven't seen Rey as Jedi, like full on.
Right.
Her power they explained away with the Palpatine connection, right?
Yeah.
But Rey as a fully committed Jedi, yeah, we haven't seen that yet.
Right.
Not in my opinion.
Yep. This is where I think you can move forward with a story, and there's no training for Rey at this point. There's no guidance from Force Ghost Luke or anything like that. It's just move forward with her own story, along with Poe, Finn, like I said, all the new characters, and make a new Star Wars story. Like
and they could explore this Force sensitivity thing with Finn.
Sure, yes, absolutely.
That they're exploring in the parodies,
right?
But left alone in the movies for some reason,
right?
After giving us this amazing poster with him and a lightsaber.
With the amount of time that's passed, I'm actually you know, my feelings about the sequels haven't really changed, but I feel like they could do a lot with where things have left off if they wanted to. So, you know, if done right, and I think they could. You know,
I think making that comment that our feelings about the sequel haven't changed is that the sequels still need that connective tissue, right?
Yeah, totally.
That connection that they're lacking. It's so disjointed.
Right.
You know, and you know, I've watched them recently.
Right.
You know, all three films back to back to back.
Yep. And
there is a disruption there.
Yeah.
And unless this is not just a Last Jedi bash, like, no, there's a disconnect from The Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens.
Right.
Those films are nowhere near the same. And that's the same director.
Yes.
That shouldn't be a thing.
Right.
You know, you should not have 3 films in a trilogy and all 3 films feel disconnected from the prior or the first.
Well, I think, okay, when I talk about we have the experience of The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi and things like that, what I'm talking about is the singular vision of a singular party, right? Like Jon Favreau with the help of Dave Filoni, right? And then Deborah Chow for Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's this one person in charge kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think we're talking about the same thing here.
And that right there, if they utilize that moving forward with a story with the new characters, the sequel characters, I think they could do a really good job with that. I think it would be awesome. But I think that's what they did not, because you know, forgive me.
Well, they had to do one of two things, right? They either had to get the middle film on par with the first film, right? Or get the third film on par with the second film.
Right.
If they would have done that, like if they would have kept the same tone, the same look, the same feel, the same, you know, trends in The Rise of Skywalker, it would have felt less disjointed.
Right.
But no, they tried to blend the two films. You know, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are two different films. They're
absolutely.
They're completely different.
Yeah.
You cannot look at those two films and tell me, wow, those flow really well. If you tell me that, you're full of shit. Like,
yes.
And you're just trolling at that point.
Yeah.
But the problem is The Rise of Skywalker tried to blend the two. That was a failure.
Right.
It should have just picked up where The Last Jedi left off and told that story. Continuing from there, take your biases of what you did in the first one out of it and just tell the story from there. It would have felt a little better.
Right.
But it didn't do that.
I don't want to, and I really, really don't want to come across as an original trilogy apologist, but I will say this. You had 3 different directors for the original trilogy, but you had one guy in charge of all 3. So,
right. Why would that make you an apologist?
Well, I mean, if you try to point out the original trilogy and something that went right with it, you're called, you know, sometimes worse things than that. But anyway, if they go that kind of route with, and who knows, maybe it's one movie, but if it's more than one or a series of them or something, I think they have kind of a game plan now. You know what I'm saying? It's something that they could say, hey, this system works. Let's use this
supposedly
system.
You had that system, and this is where I guess I'm just going to say, before I say this, go ahead and let the hate flow through you. You supposedly had this, because when you saw, Kirshner and things like that, like, there was always one consistent. It was executive producer George Lucas, written by George Lucas.
Right.
That's
what I'm talking about.
You had this one consistency in the prequel or in the sequel trilogy, which was executive producer Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
This is the person that was supposed to keep the vision. This is the person that was supposed to
Correct.
Keep everything focused.
I'm with you.
So go ahead, send your hate. I don't care.
No, I'm with you 100%. I think where Kathleen Kennedy can shine in this is to hire the person to be the George Lucas for what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's her strength. I think they were feeling
as
all that out.
As opposed to when she was involved in Indiana Jones and stuff like that. No, she was in executive mode here. I think the position was too broad. Her focus was not on being a producer and keeping a singular vision. It was about being a producer or being an executive and getting the most attraction to the film.
Right.
As opposed to the best story.
Yes.
Like her scope was too broad. It was too much to handle. Agreed. It was too much to handle for anyone.
Yes. I do think there needed to be that person sitting between Kathleen Kennedy and the directors, writers. Yes.
Or just send an email.
Okay.
This is my favorite point to make. Like, you could just send an email between the two directors that were working on it, like, hey, this is where I'm going.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I got this, impression that Rian Johnson just got a page from the last scene and said, oh yeah, I can work with that.
Yes.
Like, this is where it ended. Okay, cool. I can go from there.
Yeah. Right from
there. You
didn't
know jack about the rest of the movie.
Exactly. Anyway.
He's like, we'll work here for Skype.
Yeah, for Skype. I don't know. I just want to say, I think the potential is there. If there's any, as a Star Wars fan, we're going to glean anything out of what Daisy Ridley said. Like there's a potential for something in the future. I'd love to see it. I think they're at a point where there could be a good jumping off point. I think they know how to do it now. I think it could work. That's all.
And
I'm trying to be optimistic about all this, Joe. Quit bringing me down.
Oh, no, really? You're putting this on me?
Hey, you brought up Brian Johnson.
I think they could. I honestly agree with you. I think they could bring this all together in a really neat way. I think if we're going to be completely honest, I'm the one that's been saying that all along.
Hey, well, yeah.
They can bring this all together in a nice, neat fashion, and we'll look on it in the future as, wow, they did a good job with that.
Right.
Even though they kind of fumbled through it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be able to expand the stories and tell us more, and we're going to be like, oh, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense now.
Right. Yes.
But their execution at the time was poor, and the biggest part was it's not like they didn't make 3 good Star Wars films. Like, they were 3 good films if you just look at them by themselves.
Yep, agreed.
But if you look at them as a trilogy, it's awful.
Right.
They had no cohesive story. It's like, let's look at Finn, right? Like, look at how they handled Finn. He's a coward, he's brave. He's a coward again, he's brave. Let's make him a coward again. Now he's brave. Like, what's this dude doing?
He's screaming Rey is what he's doing.
And yes, and along the way, he's just going to yell Rey a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they completely ruined a character that seemed to have so much growth after the first film.
Yes. So much potential.
And then, like immediately in the next film, it's like, oh, he's running away again.
Right.
And like, not even in like the good way. Like, I'm just out to protect myself. I'm out,
Yep.
No. Like, as an absolute wuss. It wasn't like a Han Solo, like I'm going to save my own skin.
Yeah, right.
But brazen about it. No, he was being a chicken. After picking up a lightsaber and staring down a Force user.
True. Now, to be fair, he was trying to track down Rey.
Well, I understand.
I don't know.
But like, when you think you could just like, hey, Rey's our best hope at this point. She's the one with the Force, and
right.
Like he couldn't pitch that and like move on and like go track her down. Instead, he's got to try and steal an escape pod and duck out when no one's looking. That's not the character that we left off with in The Force Awakens. The one that literally was staring at a guy well trained in the Force with a lightsaber, kicking everyone's ass. And Finn's like, you know what? I'm going to ignite this thing and let's go.
Right.
That's not the same character. You just rolled him back. And then we're going to get to the Rise of Skywalker and we're just going to roll him back again. Why not? They failed to produce with Finn.
Agreed there. 100%.
And that's just one thing to point out, right? Like,
yeah.
And if you don't believe me, go ask John Boyega.
Yes, he'll tell you.
It was a character that, like, look, this dude went from being on the posters, on the initial posters, front and center. He was the guy with the lightsaber.
Yep.
To be your misdirection because he wasn't the Force user.
Right.
But like, he goes from that to being a coward again. Come on. Poor execution.
Totally.
Don't know how we got here.
I know.
But yes, to roll back to our original point, yes, I agree with you. I think they have taken a step back, found their footing, and they're going to be able to tell some of these stories that are going to make everything they did make sense in the end. It was just a matter of finding their footing. They went for the goal early, like
right,
ahead of schedule.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, just real quick, just one statement. You said it. I'm reiterating it. Kathleen Kennedy was more in her executive role, right? I feel like there was a lot of pressure to hurry up and make some of this $4.06 billion back that we just spent on this. So, yes, I think that had a lot to do with it, which is a shame because it's got very little to do with the stories, and that's what's important to all of us, Well,
and that's the other thing you can see with their like step back, right? Like they came out the gate real hard.
Yeah.
It was a film every time you turned around, there was a Star Wars movie coming out.
Right.
Whether it was Rogue One or it was one of the sequel films or it was Solo. There were just film after film after film. They were just trying to pump these things out. They realized, wow, we bit off more than we can chew. We can't just do that.
Right.
We can't just pump out Star Wars films and expect it to be the biggest hit you could imagine because it's got the Star Wars tag on it.
Right.
And then they got to Disney Plus and they started taking a step back, creating new series, anchoring everyone in the familiar again.
Right.
And I think Star Wars is in a very good place.
So do I.
And in a very good place to expand on what they did with the sequels and make the sequels make sense. You know, I think the overarching story makes sense, right? Like, the big story truly does make sense, but all the little things that should have happened along the way, that's where they really lost their way.
Right.
But I think they found it. Practice makes perfect, right?
Absolutely.
So they're in a good spot. Star Wars is in a very good spot right now. And I'm with you. I'm excited to see what they could do with the sequel trilogy era to connect the dots.
And all of this is hinging on Daisy Ridley saying, "I'll always be Rey." That's
yeah. It's amazing how we do that.
It is.
Yep. Truly amazing. Well, all right. If you have anything to add, which I'm sure you do, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media, at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore, at The Wars and More on Instagram. Find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think we've covered this one.
All right. We will talk next week.